Hello everyone, my name is Diana. Before we get into my story, please like and subscribe. I was born in a tiny town in America, in an old house where my mom had grown up. Our cleaning lady once told me that Mom used to be the most beautiful woman around, and when she walked by, everyone stopped to look at her. She'd left for Hollywood, but she returned when she was pregnant with me. But the version of Mom I knew was not very glamorous. She hardly left the house and spent all day watching soap operas. She was obsessed and was always trying to copy the actress. This woman is the worst actress ever. I can do better. Yeah, that role would have been mine if I didn't give up my career. Mom didn't say it exactly, but I always felt like I had gotten in the way of her acting dreams and a different life. Sometimes I kind of felt bad for her, and I tried not to bother her so much. She came in wearing jewelry and some flowy silk gown that was too tight. Did she think she was at the Oscars? She catwalked down the hallway and flirted with all my male teachers. It was so embarrassing. Why did you have to act that way, Mom? Couldn't you just be normal? What? I'm just being myself. I'm an actress. Looking and being a certain way is all part of it. Mom, I'm just a kid. I don't care about your acting and all that. I just want you to be a normal mom. Over time, Mom and I grew more distant, and by the time I was 12, we were living like housemates that barely spoke to each other. One time in 8th grade, I'd asked to borrow some of her clothes for a talent show, but I didn't bother inviting her. To my surprise, though, Mom walked in halfway into the show, and she looked totally normal, just like all the other parents. But soon after, a girl was performing a one-man show, and suddenly, I saw Mom running up to the stage and grabbing the mic from her. Honey, that was so embarrassing. I just couldn't watch anymore. You have to play each character as if you are the character. Look deep into your soul. Come on now, try it again. And oh, maybe you can do one character with a British accent. She started speaking in a terrible British accent. The girl looked as confused as the audience, and I was beyond embarrassed. Hey, isn't that Diana's wacky mom? I ran away to hide in the back room. I couldn't even do my act anymore. Once the show was over and everyone left, I came out to the parking lot to find Mom there. Hey, I was waiting for you. Why did you come here? Was it to humiliate me? What? No, I came to support you. Then why couldn't you just sit quietly instead of jumping onto the stage and snatching the mic from a kid? I was doing her a favor, and she'll remember me forever for those tips. Come on, let's go home. I'm gonna walk home. In fact, I'm gonna walk all the way to China if that's what it takes to get away from you. Diana, watch out. I suddenly felt something hit me with force and I went flying. I saw a blinding white light and then I passed out. I woke up to Mom's worried face and realized I was in the hospital. Mom told me that I'd been hit by a car. I'd broken my leg and I had to use a cane now. For how long? A few months, at least. We can't be sure when it'll be fully healed, and you might end up with a small limp. I'm so sorry, baby. This is all my fault. That day, I cried so much I thought my eyes were gonna fall out. I tried to stay mad at Mom, but I couldn't. She wasn't great, but I knew she didn't wish for this. When we got home, Mom tried so hard to be the perfect caregiver, but I knew she was struggling. It just didn't come naturally to her, but she never stopped apologizing. Baby, this is all my fault. In times like this, I wish I was more like Carol. Carol was my mother's sister who lived in New York. When I was younger, I always wished she was my mom. She had 2 kids, Theo and Becky, and the holidays I spent with my cousins were my favorite memories. Auntie Carol is quite amazing, and it would be nice to see Theo and Becky. Do you think spending some time with them would make you feel better? Yes, yes, yes! If that's what you want, love. And soon enough, I was heading for New York. But my first disappointment came at the airport when I saw Aunt Carol wasn't even there to pick me up. When she didn't show up after a while, I called her. It turned out she'd forgotten. I am so sorry, honey. There was a little situation at the kids' school. She still looked like the amazing aunt I remembered, but something about her also felt different. And when we got to her house, it was really quiet. As Aunt took my luggage to my room, I wandered into the kitchen to find Theo making a sandwich. Hey, Theo, it's so good to see you. Theo just looked at me blankly, then walked off without a word. What the heck? Didn't he remember me? Just then, someone almost knocked me out with a bear hug. Oh my gosh, you're finally here. Gosh, I missed you. How are you? Well, I know you're a little sad, but I got you now. Thank God Becky was the same chatterbox I knew. We talked and laughed for hours. Hey, is Theo okay? He was so weird to me earlier. Becky's face instantly fell, and she looked like she was gonna cry. Yeah, that's him these days. Mom thinks it's just a puberty phase, but it's more than that. He's changed so much, I hardly know him anymore. But at least I have you now. In the coming days, I got to see the new Theo myself. He never spoke to anyone and spent all his time in his room playing video games. One day, Aunt had to go in to make him clean his room, but Theo started yelling like a crazy person. Leave my room!
Get Venture X. Earn 10x miles on hotels and 5x miles on flights booked through Capital One Travel. Plus 2
right now. Get out. One day Aunt was having a garage sale and Becky and I were helping her out when suddenly a police car pulled up with Theo in it. Is this your son? He was caught stealing cigarettes and magazines at the mall. All our neighbors were staring at the spectacle and Aunt's face was red with embarrassment. The policeman let Theo go because he was a first-time offender, but that day Aunt snapped. Why have you decided to humiliate me? I work my butt off for you to have everything, and you go around stealing? And what, you're smoking now? That's none of your business. And if my allowance was enough, I wouldn't have to go around stealing, would I? So maybe you're not working hard enough. Hey, stop that. You're being rude. You know your mom works so hard. Who asked you? This is a family matter, and just because your mom dumped you here doesn't mean you get to butt into everything. I was so sick of his stupid attitude. I hit him with my cane and we got into a fight and Aunt had to separate us. That's enough. Theo, apologize right now. From that day, Theo and I were dead to each other. I didn't care anyway, as long as I had Becky with me. Aunt Carol registered me at my cousin's school soon, which Theo looked very unhappy about since we were in the same grade. On our first day, Theo cornered me right after Aunt dropped us off. Listen, just stay away from me. Mind your own business, and as far as anyone knows, we are not related. Understood? It was my first time in school since the accident, and I was nervous, but the students here were really nice. They helped me up the stairs and even helped me find my class. I had a feeling I was gonna love it here. But when the bell rang for recess, I noticed the strangest thing ever. A group of boys ordered Theo to pick up their books and put them in their lockers. And he did, without a word, like he was their servant. During lunch, I noticed him with the same boys again. This time, they made him fetch their lunch, and while he was balancing all the trays, someone bumped into him and he fell down, and those jerks all laughed at him. Hey, what's the deal with that boy? Oh, that poor boy is Theo, and that blonde guy in their group is Billy, and the rest are his minions. They've been hurting Theo forever. One time, Theo reported Billy and got him into detention, and since then, it's gotten so much worse. Like they're really trying to punish him. Sometimes I feel bad about not helping him, but we're all scared of those jerks. My heart broke into a million pieces. Theo was being bullied by monsters. And why hadn't Becky said anything? You must know what Theo is going through. Why haven't you told Aunt all this time? Diana, Mom works for the company Billy's dad owns, and you don't know how far Billy can go to make someone miserable. He's a spoiled brat, and if he asks his dad, Mom would lose her job in a second. Theo has forced me to stay quiet and says he can put up with it. He says things will be worse if he doesn't. I tried to understand her point of view, but I just couldn't. This had to stop. That night, I went to Theo's room. Listen, I'm really sorry for the way Billy is treating you, and he needs to be punished. Didn't I ask you to mind your own business? And it's not how it looks. I do stuff for those guys and get paid for it. You get paid to run around like their errand boy? That's humiliating. Let me help you. No, you'll make it worse. It's just for a few more months and then we'll graduate. I'm handling it just fine. No, you're not. You are hurting and everyone close to you is hurting too. Can't you see it? Leave me alone. But I just couldn't. So the next day, I made videos every time I saw Billy bully him, then sent them to the principal's email address. The next day, I felt a million butterflies when I found out that Billy had just been called in by the principal and suspended for 2 weeks. Not long enough, but a little justice. But when I got home, Theo was furious. I told you to leave it alone. He's gonna come back and have my head. No, he won't. The principal knows now. You are such a dumb, nosy idiot. You think the principal will actually take serious action against someone like Billy? Thanks for ruining my life. For the entire 2 weeks, he was so paranoid and looking over his shoulder. And the day Billy was supposed to be back, I noticed tears in Theo's eyes on her way to school. I silently prayed that he'd leave Theo alone and that I hadn't made things worse. But during lunch that day, I noticed a crowd gathered outside. I got closer and saw Theo surrounded by Billy and his boys. OMG, they were gonna hurt him. Hey, leave him alone. Stop it. But no one heard me. Then suddenly, I felt a huge force rush through my legs, and I charged forward and hit Billy in the knees with my cane. He fell to the ground and stared at me furiously. Theo had grabbed Billy by the collar and punched him in the face. No one messes with my cousin. Luckily, someone had called the principal to the scene, and everyone said that Billy tried to hurt me. The principal told him he was expelled. You can't do that. Do you know who my father is? Oh, yes, I know, son. And I'm sure he wouldn't want word getting out that his son goes around beating kids with disabilities. That wouldn't be good for his reputation. You hurt a girl with a cane. I'll talk to your father right now. Billy was indeed expelled, and his minions were suspended for the rest of the term. Billy's father also reached out to Aunt Carol to apologize and promised that his son would not be bothering her family again. After it was all over, Aunt Carol turned to Theo in tears. I should have known. I'm such a bad mom. No, you're not, Mom. You're the best, and I'm sorry for all the hurt I've caused you. And then he pulled me into their hug, too. Thank you for everything. I really owe you one. I'm just happy to have you back, cousin. From that day, things changed. Theo started to get better and becoming his old self, and my leg had started recovering too. I could now walk for short distances without my cane, and I didn't have a limp. One day, we were having dinner when someone knocked on the door. It was Mom, and she looked different. For the first time, she looked happy. She told us she'd gotten an opportunity to be in a big movie in LA, but she turned it down to take me home. I'm so happy you're getting better. I want to be there for you during your recovery. I'm learning slowly, but I do want to be the best mom for you, really. Mom, I really appreciate that, but you have to take that role. You'd be crazy to turn it down. What? It's your dream, and I'm happy here. Go to LA, become the biggest movie star, then come back to me. I know you love me, and I love you too. But sometimes, the best way to show love to someone is by loving yourself.